Welcome, brothers and sisters. My name is Eros and I am the Doll Maker. Since we are approaching the winter season, we need to talk about another festivity. In this case, it will be Yule. Of course, we start with the basics. So, we need to understand that Yule is celebrated in the winter solstice that happens between the 20th and the 23rd of December, even if some tradition always do celebrate in the 21st of December. This happens quite often. Some other traditions celebrate until the 1st of January, so starting from the 21st of December until the 1st of January. This is a little bit more rare, but sometimes happens. Now, the name of the festivity may come from Yule, from the Norse language, later translated into Yule, which is a more Germanic pronunciation. If this name actually comes from the Norse language, it may come from the word hjol, which means wheel, and it was later translated into wheel. Now, to understand this festivity, we need to understand that it is celebrated in the longest night, figuratively, into the deepest darkness. Because, of course, this is a sad, melancholic time frame, a time frame in which we have low energy because of all the events of the year, because of our work and our work schedule and our inner work. And I'm especially intending introspection that we practiced throughout all the year, but especially in the last festivity. Now, all of these factors can leave us debilitated or with some sort of a sense of emptiness inside of us. At the same time, this festivity is the celebration of the approaching of the Sun reborn, inspiring us to rekindle our inner flame. We should follow this new spark of light reborn after we faced our deep journey of introspection throughout all of the dark time, throughout this harsh winter, if you want. And this harsh winter is, of course, figurative of our difficulties, all the problems that we face throughout the rest of the year, or our inner problems, the problems that always stays within ourselves. So, this festivity is all about transforming our hopes into willpower. This festivity represents the activation of the will, of the true will, breaking out of all of these unstable energies or static energies, even worse. And we should use this celebration, this opportunity to start planning what we want to do going forward. Now, this is for the bright side. On the dark side, that we've quoted before, this darkness reminds us to enjoy the little things. So, the emotions, positive emotions that we feel, to enjoy our connections with others, that allows us to do many magnificent things, and of course to enjoy things that are not only material things. So not to enjoy everything that is not strictly for appearance or futile, so to speak. Now, as always, we will start with the activities for this festivity. So we should carefully plan for major and minor objectives for the year going forward. Because, of course, everything is set in action only when you program the thing that you want to do, the event that you want to prepare, and so on. Also, we should use the deep darkness of the season to leave behind our negative energies and our static energies. So, negativity and stasis should be left in the darkness while we focus on our motivation and our objectives. If you want some encouragement, you can consult books. There are many amazing self-help books. Or if you want to go in the free way, you can use many amazing videos, even here on YouTube. Now, please, in this season, also remind to ground yourself, especially this grounding usually in this season, in this cold season, should be performed while being in nature. While being in nature, an amazing grounding activity, at least in our tradition, is of course feeding animals. So, living offerings for the wildlife. Now, remember to do this only if you are performing this activity outdoors, far from your house. Because, of course, I've tried and failed it before. While I was living in London, I've tried to perform this activity and I got infested by fox. Then I tried to give grades while living in the city here back in Italy, and I got infested by pigeons. And believe me, they made it very clear that they were there. Now, if I try to do this after the quarantine of these last couple of years, I will probably get infested by boars, and they are quite dangerous. So please do remember to always perform this kind of offering while you are outdoor. Then, of course, these offerings are in a sense gifts, even to give back. But gifts are very important in this season. So we find as an activity the possibility to exchange gifts of gratitude or gifts of love, if you want. Now, these gifts doesn't have to be expensive. In my personal experience, the best gifts rarely are expensive. So try, if you want to exchange gifts or to simply gift something to someone, try to bring a gift that will do good to that person, or a gift that can be useful for that person. For example, in our tradition, but in Italy in general, food gifts are really prominent as a gift to always be grateful for. For example, baskets with various food offerings, so to speak. Now, try to understand that in ancient societies, food gifts in these cold, harsh seasons were extremely important. They were, they made some people, especially less fortunate than us, very, very happy. Now, of course, talking about lighter activities, you could decorate evergreens. In this case, please do not use huge eradicated trees. It's never a good idea to eradicate something that has lived for centuries. So try to use smaller evergreens, or of course, if you got a huge garden, you can keep an evergreen in there. So, of course, I am talking about trees, but perennial plants are just as fine. So you can use small evergreens if you live inside an apartment, just like me. You can use small evergreens or perennial plants that are perfectly as fine. Or you can decorate a tree outdoor while being in nature, even better, not disturbing anything. But please, if you decide to do so, if you decide to decor an evergreen, please do not use plastic. We already have all the plastic that we need hanging around. So, for example, some alternatives. In our tradition, we use dried slices of oranges that are clearly a sun symbol, or oranges whole. But you can also, it's very prevalent for us to use slices of horizontally cut apples, because of course the core of an apple, if sliced, will give you the design of a star, another amazing sun symbol. Or you can use cinnamon. It's very prevalent for our decoration in this period, especially for the smell that it can give to your home. You can use edible decorations, forgive me, just like candies, especially if you got kids. Be careful that they don't steal it all straight away. You can use fruits, any sort of fruit as a decoration, or wooden decoration. Just remember that globes and stars are sun symbols, so they are really prevalent. You can use ribbons and strings, they are amazing to give an ambience to whatever space you want to decorate. But please just remember to try all that you can to avoid plastic. Now, of course, we are decorating evergreens because they are represent all perennial plants, because they are representative of the eternal cycle. Just remember, if you come from a more Christian tradition, you may want to avoid decorating the tree, you may want to avoid this activity depending on your interpretation and on your translation from the Hebrew language of the verses of the Bible, of the Deuteronomy from 16 to 21. So, if you come from that sort of tradition, take a look, check your interpretation, and decide if you want to perform this activity or not. Remember also, talking about plants, to bring your outdoor plants in vases inside, or to use a greenhouse to protect them, just like Lily did in our video. So Lily, if you're editing this video, put here somewhere on the screen a small preview and the link to the video in the description. Now, just also remember that in this season, feasts are really prominent, and we will talk about feasts in a minute. Another different thing that you can do as an activity for this season is to plant a seed or a bulb that will sprout in spring. And you should do this sort of activity with intention, with intent, just like we do with petitions. Petitions that, of course, can also be used as a different kind of decoration for your tree or your perennial plants. Now, talking about decorations, we will find mistletoe for this season. Please be extremely careful with mistletoe because it can be extremely toxic. So be extremely careful if you decide to decor any sort of space with mistletoe, especially if you got pets or children. Now, of course, just like in any other festivity, we can redecorate our altar or our seasonal altar if we keep one, but we can decorate our home or our working space, or simply wearing the colors if we still don't practice openly, so to speak. Now, as we always do, let's start with some correspondences for this festivity and also for this time frame, for this season if you want. We start with colors. As always, we find gold connected to the sun, of course. Red for this inner fire, for the spark that we are trying to feed and to follow. We find white, not only related to the snow of the season, but white is suggesting us to make a clean slate, to purify everything for the upcoming years. Because of course, we are heading to, if the last festivity was the end of the year, this is the first. This is why we are starting to plan what we want to do going forward. Also representing this purity, as we said. And lastly, we find silver, representing, of course, in this deep darkness, the moon, the queen of the night. Then, talking about herbs, we find mistletoe, as we said before, holly, cinnamon, and every other sort of solar plants and fruit, just like we discussed on the video about the sun, if you want to go deeper. But if you want to quote just a few of them, I will work with bay or laurel, depending on how you want to call it, chamomile, rosemary, marjoram, and angelica. If you like to work with crystals, I will go for crystals, so mainly citrine and sandstone. If you want to work with trees, of course, we say evergreens and perennial plants are extremely important for this festivity and in this season. So I will always go for either a perennial plant or an evergreen. Now, if you know me, you know that at this point I want to talk a little bit about kitchen magic that is extremely prevalent for this festivity. And the things we are going to work with are mainly conserved food, so preserves or everything that we have conserved in brine or in vinegar, but you can also work with dried nuts, jams of any sort. Then, for this season, we got a few of late bloomers. For example, you can want to work with artichokes, cauliflowers, cabbages of any sort, carrots, beets, late pumpkins, so pumpkins that bloom late in the season. And of course, all of these examples are very dependent on your geographical region, so don't take them for granted. They are not always at your disposal if you live in a very different environment. Then, for the feasts, we, especially depending on your diet, but in my region are extremely prominent wild game and roasted vegetables. For the drink in these cold seasons, I will almost always go for teas, hot chocolates, or if you want to go for alcoholic drinks, spiced wines are extremely prominent. Also liquors for the extreme cold. Just be careful how much you want to warm up. Then, going toward the end. For your spell work, you should focus on facilitating your future project going forward in this year, bringing prosperity toward yourself and your loved ones, and finding your path. This is done especially through spiritual inner working. For your meditation, you should focus on leaving behind in the darkness these stasis, these negativity, these weights that we keep inside, and aiming toward the light of your project, of your results, and of your objectives. Now, if you want to go deeper into the rabbit hole, I will wait for you tomorrow for the intermediate level on how to celebrate. As always, I deeply thank you for your kind attention, and may eternal light shine upon you.